you smell what the rock is cooking? The rock says, the rock says, the rock says, the rock. They talk to me. You got your rules and your religion, all designed to keep you safe. But when rules start getting broken, you start questioning your faith. I have a voice that is my savior, hates to love and loves to hate. I have a voice that has a knowledge.
Are you ready? You think you could tell us what to do? You think you could tell us what to wear? You think that you're better? Well, you better get ready. Bow to the masters. Break it down! One, two, is this on? Yo, Jimmy, hit me with that Triple H. Yeah, you let the music keep playing, Mr. Don. Yo, tell me whose time it is now. Yo, no, it's
time to play the game! It's all about the game, and how you play it, all about control. And if you can take it, all about your debt. And if you can play it, it's all about pain. And who's gonna make it? I am the game, you don't wanna play me, I am control. Evolution is a mystery, full of chains that no one sees. Clock makes us king of kings. On your knees, dog. All hail. Bow down to the king. Bow down to the king. Grinned red as he walked from the place where the traitor lost both his name and his face. Through the halls and the corridors, stinking in blood, he tasted his grin, and it tasted good.
Hello and welcome to a special celebration episode of the WWE Wrestling Talk Show with Reese Rock Jones and
Sean Randy Smith, and we will celebrate a particular anniversary of one superstar.
yes, as you may have been able to tell by the music that we're playing, we will celebrate 25 years of Hunter Hearst Helmsley, aka Triple H.
We will start with his debut.
Triple H would sign for the WWE
He would.
in January of 1995 after a one-year spell in WCW.
He would.
He would come under the Blue Bloods gimmick of Hunter Hearst Helmsley, which of course in later years would transition into Triple H.
It's the first thing you heard at the start of the show.
When he first came into the company, he wasn't really treated as a main eventer, starting off a little slow. He had a little bit of a mishap quite early on when the pedigree which he was performing to Matty Gamma was mistaken for a double underhook suplex, which would damage the neck of Garner.
Yes, and as we saw, the infamous pedigree, as we already mentioned.
But in 1996, Triple H would enter a feud with the husband of Sable, the then husband of Sable, I should say, in Mark Moreno, which would give him one of his first championships under the company, the Intercontinental Championship, which he would lose to a not so well known superstar by the name of Rocky Maivia,
AKA you.
1997 is when his career started to go on the up, when he would join a little faction known as D-Generation X.
Yeah.
And would win the European Championship. Well, I say win, would more or less be awarded the European Championship by Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels laid down for Triple H.
He would carry on to feud with Owen Hart over the championship in the early 1998.
Yeah.
Then we go into another situation that occurred back in 1996 before his career really took off. He's backstage. Well, first of all, WrestleMania 12, he was part of a squash match with the Ultimate Warrior.
as punishment.
Wait, that was not punishment. King of the Ring was supposed what happened after that. But Triple H was supposedly in line to win the 1996 King of the Ring. However, due to a little incident that called the Click, which involved Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Sean Walton, aka X-Pac, and Scott Hall.
Yep.
Following an incident in Madison Square Garden called the Curtain Call,
Yep.
in which they all broke character to say goodbye to Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, who would be jumping ship to WCW. The punishment for that was delayed and to given to Triple H, as they couldn't punish Shawn Michaels because he was champion, and of course Nash and Hall were bugging off to a company that would ultimately be their demise.
Yeah.
So that pretty much left Triple H. So instead of him winning the King of the Ring, it would go to Stone Cold Steve Austin and be the opening to Austin 316. However, Triple H would get the King of the Ring the following year.
Would.
But going back to 1998, following WrestleMania 14, when Shawn Michaels was forced to take 4 years off due to
Back injury.
his back injury, Triple H became the forefront and leader of DX and would be given more of a spotlight, which would lead to his eventual full-thrown transformation into what we know him to be now, as by the summer of 1999, he would win his first WWE Championship from a little superstar called Mankind.
Mankind it was.
Of course, he would lose the WWE Championship to the person who would one day be his father-in-law, Vince McMahon. But we'll get into a story on how that happened a little later.
Yeah, do me a little later.
Then, of course, he would win the title back at Unforgiven 99. He would play a little bit of hot potato with the championship, passing it to the Big Show, getting it back, and passing it to the Rock and getting it back. Then he took some time off from being champion in late 2000 as he was revealed to be the person that would be the orchestrator behind running over Stone Cold in late 99.
Yep.
And those two would enter a feud going into the early 2001s.
Where this would really take off.
And then following WrestleMania 17, the two would form an alliance and would become the tag team champions together.
For the two-man power trip.
During this time, Triple H would also win 2 more Intercontinental Championships
Yep.
from Kane and Jeff Hardy simultaneously. And then tragedy would strike. Sorry, did I say Kane? I meant Jericho and Jeff Hardy.
Yes.
But then tragedy would strike because the day after Judgment Day of 2001, in which he lost the Intercontinental Championship to Kane, in a tag team championship defense, and I do apologize in advance, but we have to mention his name, in a tag team championship defense against a team of Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit.
Yes, but during that match, Triple H would suffer quite a nasty injury.
That would sideline him for the rest of 2001 and the beginning of 2002, which would keep him out of the invasion angle, which would come into play in the next month or so.
Yeah.
Triple H would return to Raw on January 7th, 2002 from
Massive ovation.
in Madison Square Garden, and would go on to win the 2002 Royal Rumble match, and then would win the WWE Championship for he would win the WWE Championship for a fifth time at that year's WrestleMania, defeating Chris Jericho, who had aligned himself with his then on-screen and later off-screen wife, Stephanie McMahon.
Yeah.
Then Triple H would lose the championship a month later to Hulk Hogan. We'll have a rematch against The Undertaker at King of the Ring 2002. Then, as we entered the summer of 2002, he was put into a rivalry against his best friend and tag team partner, who would be making his return to in-ring competition after 4 years, Shawn Michaels.
I remember it well. It was a Monday Night Raw episode, and they were just about to form DX back together, and then all of a sudden, Triple H kicks Shawn Michaels in the midsection, and Pedigree's in the middle of the ring.
This would also be when Triple H was awarded the World Heavyweight Championship.
First time we've seen the World Heavyweight Championship now in a long time.
Then he would drop the championship to Shawn Michaels in the first ever Elimination Chamber match, only to win it back a month later in a 3 Stages of Hell match.
Yeah.
Then he would have a few more matches with Shawn Michaels over the course of 2002 and 2003. Would ultimately lose the championship to the man who is now being referred to as Oldberg.
It's Goldberg.
When win the championship back at Armageddon of 2003, have a last man standing match against Shawn Michaels at the Royal Rumble of 2004. And again, I must apologise in advance because of WrestleMania 20, in a classic triple threat match featuring Shawn Michaels and Chris Benoit.
Yeah, what?
He would lose the championship. Of course, during this 2-year span, he will also be forming a little group known as Evolution.
Which would consist of himself, Ric Flair, Batista, and a very young me.
Yes, and then once he was able to get his hands back on the World Heavyweight Championship in the summer of 2004, this would be the start of the end of Evolution, because
starting with kicking me out of Evolution when I won the World Heavyweight Championship younger than Triple H.
yes, and then Randy Orton would be defeated by Triple H at Unforgiven 2004, in which he would win his 4th World Heavyweight Championship and his 9th overall, I believe.
Yes.
Then, due to a double pinfall in the triple threat match, the title was vacated in December of 2004, but Triple H would win it back in January of 2005 at New Year's Revolution in the Elimination Chamber match, with a little bit of help from then Evolution teammate Batista.
Yep.
However, that would not last, because Batista would win the 2005 Royal Rumble match, which is famous for not having the ending it was supposed to have, and Vince McMahon telling both his quads.
Yeah. That was an interesting one.
But Batista would win the Royal Rumble match and go on to challenge Triple H at WrestleMania 21, in which he would win the World Heavyweight Championship. And after 2 more rematches, would jump over to SmackDown. Into late 2005, if my memory serves me correctly, Triple H would enter into a rivalry with Ric Flair over the Intercontinental Championship.
Yep.
And would also break the hand of the Big Show in early 2006.
Using a sledgehammer.
Then he would enter a program with John Cena over the WWE Championship. And then in mid-2006, he would reunite with Shawn Michaels, and the two would reform D-Generation X.
Pretty much confirming that reunion right there.
And they would enter into a feud against the Spirit Squad and the McMahons in Vince and Shane.
In various matches.
So it would ultimately end up with Vince McMahon having his face in Big Show's ass.
Yes, inside Hell in a Cell at Vengeance, I believe it was, in Toronto.
I think, was it Vengeance or was it Unforgiven? Anyway, the next situation would be DX entering into a feud with Rated RKO, the team of Edge and Randy Orton.
Yes, and we would feud back and forth between DX and with DX, but even at one point, even involving Rated RKO wrestling as D-Generation X at one point.
Then tragedy would strike Triple H yet again at New Year's Revolution, where in a tag team match, again, whether it was a tag team match or a one-on-one match, can't be sure, I think it was a tag team match, again, he would suffer the same injury that would put him out of action in 2001, except this time it was on the opposite side.
Yes.
But luckily, this would not keep him out of action for the same length of time, because he would be back for SummerSlam of that year, in which he would prove to then King Booker who the true King of Kings is.
Yeah. So, and again, it's one of the biggest pops I would imagine I've ever heard.
Then then after this, because John Cena was forced to vacate the WWE Championship due to an injury of his own,
Yeah.
Triple H would enter into a championship feud with Randy Orton, which would result in him winning and losing the WWE Championship on the same night.
Yes.
Then that rivalry would go back and forth several times
Yeah.
and culminate when Triple H would win the WWE Championship at Backlash of 2008.
Yeah.
But it would not end there, as later that year, Triple H spent most of 2008 as WWE Champion on SmackDown.
Where he would pretty much dominate.
But following a brief back and forth rivalry with Edge,
Which was literally back and forth.
after winning the WWE Championship for an 8th time and 13th overall,
Yeah.
he would again enter into a feud with Randy Orton, but this time it would turn very personal,
Absolutely.
as at this time it was widely known that Triple H and Stephanie McMahon were in a real-life relationship.
Yes.
Well, Randy Orton decided to RKO and punt Vince McMahon,
Yeah.
but
Then I would do the same to Shane.
but during this time as well, Randy Orton would win the 2009 Royal Rumble match,
Yeah.
which meant that he had a championship match at WrestleMania. So Triple H decides to invade the home of Randy Orton.
Yeah.
Now, the only problem with this match at WrestleMania was that they had a classic match between Undertaker and Shawn Michaels that they had to follow.
Yeah.
But this would ultimately come to an end at Backlash when Randy Orton would win the WWE Championship with a little bit of help from his then legacy buddies.
Ted DiBiase and I'm not going to mention his name.
Yes. Then Triple H seemed to go off for a while.
Yes.
He would have a few. Actually, no, 2009. What am I talking about? Late 2009. Again, we would see a brief reunion of the Generation X,
Yes.
and they would target the Tag Team Championships, which were being held by the team of Big Show and Chris Jericho.
Always known as Jericho.
And the Generation X would win their first tag team championships together under what I believe was the first pay-per-view event that is now being christened as TLC.
Yes.
They would remain champions for about 2 months, but Shawn Michaels would become obsessed with one more match with The Undertaker. and lose the titles.
And since when did Shawn Michaels become Christian?
During this point, Triple H again would challenge for the WWE Championship, which in early 2010 was being held by Sheamus, and would ultimately be the reason, would cost Sheamus the championship in an Elimination Chamber match, which would then have Sheamus feuding with Triple H into WrestleMania 26.
In which Triple H picked up the victory.
But I believe the two would have at least one more, if not two more matches.
Yeah.
Which would sideline Triple H for the remainder of 2010.
Yes.
But then, in February of 2011, on exactly the same day that The Undertaker returned, we would also have Triple H return, which would set up year one of their back and forth WrestleMania matches of WrestleMania 27, which, despite winning the match, The Undertaker was unable to walk out under his own power.
Which was shocking in its own right.
Then we go to 2011, where Triple H would be the chief operating officer of the WWE, when Vince McMahon was basically voted out under a vote of no confidence.
Basically relieved of his duties storyline-wise.
But it wouldn't be long before Triple H would experience the same kind of issues, as he would experience issues with The Miz and R-Truth,
in which he actually logistically fired them both,
and chucked them out of the arena.
He would then also experience issues with CM Punk.
Yes. Then he would also, when CM Punk was cost the WWE Championship by Kevin Nash, who was briefly back on the scene.
Yep, and then after that, WWE cashed in, but that's a different story.
This would ultimately lead to a sledgehammer on a pole match, if that's the correct thing for it, between Triple H and Kevin Nash at that year's TLC.
But then Triple H was then attacked the following night on the October 24th episode of Raw, in which he sustained a fractured vertebrae.
And then we go into early 2012 with John Laurinaitis.
God, that's going back.
Triple H was about to fire John Laurinaitis on TV when The Undertaker's gong goes off.
God.
And it is the only time, well, one of the only times I should say, that I have been like, you couldn't have waited like 2 more minutes.
It's not. Me too. And that would lead to The Undertaker and Triple H having one more match at WrestleMania.
Yes, Hell in a Cell, end of an era. But this time, the special guest referee would be Shawn Michaels.
Talk about Piggy in the middle.
And this would, at the end of this match, they would all pretty much break character.
Again. But this time for different reasons.
Now, at this point, Triple H, after that, would kind of go back to his corporate role. That is, until a certain beast decided to show up by the name
30th episode of Raw.
by the name of Brock Lesnar.
Oh, jeez. Where, Triple H had his next issue.
Yes, Triple H had some issues with Brock Lesnar. Lesnar would break Triple H's arm. That would lead into a match at SummerSlam of 2012 in which Brock Lesnar would win. Then we go fast forward a bit to a fight between Vince McMahon and Paul Heyman, which would then draw out Brock Lesnar. That was laid as a trap for Triple H to come out.
Yep.
This would then all lead to a match at MetLife Stadium for WrestleMania 29, which would then end with a pedigree on some steps, giving Triple H the victory. Then we go to SummerSlam of 2013. John Cena versus Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship. Triple H is a special guest referee. Daniel Bryan wins the WWE Championship, and during his celebration, he is pedigreed, and a little someone decides to cash in Money in the Bank.
Yes, it does.
This would be the formation of what we would know as the Authority. And the first time in a fair few number of years, Triple H would turn heel.
Yes.
So this storyline went back and forth. Daniel Bryan did manage to win the championship back in what was alleged to be a fast count.
Yes, fast count, if you put it lightly.
Then we had another match with Shawn Michaels again being the referee. This would then culminate in the Superdome.
Yes, put it politely.
At WrestleMania 30, in which Triple H would go one-on-one with Daniel Bryan. The winner would be added to the main event. And the winner of that match was, in fact, Daniel Bryan. So he was added to a main event, would win the World Heavyweight Championship, or WWE World Heavyweight Championship.
Which would be called the Miracle on Bourbon Street.
Unfortunately, due to his injuries, he would be forced to vacate the championship.
But that's a different story.
Then we would have a brief evolutionary union as they would go to take on The Shield.
Yes. Of Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and we're not going to mention anyone's name.
But after 2 pay-per-view matches, Seth Rollins would stab his Shield teammates in the back to join the Authority.
And he would win, and Triple H would have Seth Rollins in his back pocket for quite a while.
Yes, Seth Rollins would win the Money in the Bank ladder match of that year, would go on to perform what was called the Heist of the Century at WrestleMania 31.
When he cashed it during the main event between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns.
Yes, Triple H would have his own issue going on at the time with Sting, due to Sting interfering in a Survivor Series match that, at least temporarily, put the Authority out of power.
Yes.
And he would win that match. During a celebration night following Seth Rollins winning the United States Championship from John Cena, Sting would reappear
wanting a shot at Seth Rollins' WWE Championship.
Oh, but going back slightly, this is yet another time that I have been annoyed that with The Undertaker's gong going off.
Yes.
And that was when Brock Lesnar finally got his rematch for the WWE Championship. And after an F5, we would have a 1-2 gone.
Where again, you would say,
Couldn't you have waited like one more minute? Point being is, Brock Lesnar had defeated The Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania 30. Paul Heyman would not show up about it, and The Undertaker wanted some revenge.
true. Very true.
But this is a story about Triple H's career.
It is. And after that, this is where things would kind of fall apart for Triple H, because he would have another rivalry on his hands.
Yeah, in late 2015, which we shall get to briefly after when I reset this show. We shall go through the past few years of what has happened. But we shall be back momentarily.
Yes, sir. Okay, that's part one.